Sup team, welcome to the video. First, I got a very aggressive haircut. I told Boris to leave it all on top and shave the sides. I normally wear a hat, so I'm not too concerned, but it's kind of ridiculous. Second, the point of this video is to discuss strategies not only for modifying how you behave at an event or at a dinner to stay on point with your diet, but really modify the day leading up to it and even the week around that event so that you can enjoy the event. Couple quick things first. One, I hope you guys enjoyed the 10K calorie challenge video. If you haven't watched it, I will probably forget to link it below. Someone else will do that for me though, because you guys are awesome. Two, what's going on? Hurricane Irma came. We were in the British Virgin Islands. We're not going back. Jamie, Matt, and Chris flew from New York to their hometown in Canada for the foreseeable future. I'm gonna be in NYC for a little while. I'm really liking being back and being in a routine. I'll probably meet those guys somewhere in Canada sometime here in September to get after it, ultimate sweat. But October 1, we have a place. And I can't tell you where it is, and I can't tell you who it's with because it's not really my secret to spill, but it's a big time poker player who I'm gonna be living with in addition to Ultimate Sweat Crew, obviously. And I'm super excited about it for October and November and maybe even a little longer. So sit tight on that. Yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, so say you have anything, right? A work event, a friend's birthday party, a random dinner out, an anniversary, any meal, a home-cooked grandma's or mom's hand-making pasta, whatever it is, where you know that meal is not going to be something that you can work into your macros for the day or even keep calories reasonably on point, assuming you behave normally, eating your normal breakfast, your normal lunch, your normal snacks, and then that meal. The first thing you should do is modify your day so that you have as many calories to play with at that meal as possible. To give you a personal example, last night I had the Vikings game. I was going to this bar called Shorty's, which is an Eagles bar. It's kind of a long story, but they have really good cheesesteaks. And so I knew I'm gonna be at this bar for 3.5 hours with my friends. I'm going to be eating a surplus of calories and fat. How do I handle this? First thing I did, you guys see me making smoothies here all the time, often with a decent amount of carbs, 50 to 60 grams of carbs from the fruit in those smoothies. What I did was, instead of having a smoothie pre-workout, I just had 10 grams of BCAAs with pre-workout drink. So I trained fasted instead of having a pre-workout meal, which saved me 300 calories. Post-workout, just straight protein and carbs, 30 protein, 40 carb after my training session. And then later in the afternoon, intentionally only had mostly protein in a salad. So some vegetables, a little bit of fats, but really keeping calories down for the day, trying to get a decent amount of protein, and then having as many calories to play with at night as possible. Modifying your calories and macros during the day leading up to the event. That's the biggest thing, that's number one. Number two, train on your event day and the next day. Here's why. It's not the mentality of offset the extra calories with workouts, okay? It's not increased calorie expenditure to try and stay in a good place to earn those calories. What it is assuming you care about strength and lean tissue, AKA muscle, you just have an opportunity to make marginal progress. And if this happens 25 times a year, 50 times a year, when you have an event like this, you have a day where you're gonna be overfed, getting a training session in on that day and using the surplus of calories, especially if you're in a fat loss phase, using that surplus of calories for a muscle gain opportunity, that's just gonna add up for you. Training the next day, I because, again, if you're trying to lean out, glycogen stores are depleted, workouts are a grind. If you've ever intentionally built muscle versus intentionally lost fat, you know that when you're in a deficit, strength training is just a grind. So if you have an overfeeding, if grandma or mom or whoever hand makes pasta and you have 250 grams of carbs the night before when you've been surviving on like 120 or 150 grams of carbs per day, or maybe even less for some people depending on your situation, and you have that like topped off muscle glycogen stores, your training session the next day is going to be amazing. Capitalize on that. Get a really good strength training session in. Even modify your programming, so if those were going to be rest days, or if one of the days was going to be rest days, hit a big high volume upper body day the day of, and a big high volume lower body day the day after, just training everything around that high calorie period. That's kind of what I meant by modifying the week, modifying workouts, like moving a training day and a rest day, one day in this direction, one day in that direction, so that it sets up more optimally for having training around the overfeeding period. The last thing I'll mention is not obsessing. And it depends on who you are, it depends on the type of progress you want to be making, but in general, at events like this, and it depends on how often these events happen. If they're weekly, if they're business dinners, yeah, you probably should be estimating the calories and macros in the foods you're eating. But if it's one-off type thing, if it's happening once a month or even less, just enjoy yourself. Keep protein high, keep calories low during the day, and then at the thing, don't eat to the point where you're uncomfortable. Don't eat to the point where you're in pain. Don't eat to the point where you want to kill yourself, where you're sick, unless it's Thanksgiving. But like outside of a few events, like just eating a little bit slower, drinking water with your meal, and like paying attention to how you feel so that you actually enjoy it all. And maybe you have 2,500 calories in one night and you do enjoy it and you don't feel sick. Great. But yeah, don't punish yourself. There's a utility or a value curve where calories are on the x-axis and values on the y-axis, and once you go past a certain number of calories, you're going to start like reducing your total value from the experience. So those are things I would pay attention to if you are planning for a big night out. Thanks for watching the video. Please hit the like button if you liked it. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Bye.